Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress of. My name is Oscar, and I will be one of your hosts today. And per usual, I have the gang is here, and here they will introduce themselves.
What's up? It's me, Alex Peterson, chilling.
Hashtag chilling.
Hashtag chilling.
What's up, guys? I'm Brian Williams. I exist. I'm here.
Yo, Devin Lee, or as my Xbox gamer tag is called, this guy
Oh my
331.
God. Oh my God.
Why does Devin sound like he's on a dating profile right now? What is
Right,
this?
I don't know what happened.
Boy.
I don't
I
know
don't know.
what just
I feel
happened.
like-
Yo, it's my
this
dog, Devin.
Well, yes. Thank you for joining us for another week in the Fortress of, a podcast where we talk about games and movies and TV and lots of pop culture nerd stuff. And if any of this seems incredibly dated to you, don't worry, because we are going to supersonically circle and spin the Earth backwards or forwards to your present day, whenever that may be, in a couple weeks. So yeah, that's what we do here. How you guys doing today? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm over here. I got a glass of bourbon, so I'm relaxing, you know.
Nice.
Feeling good.
I want
Drinking on the
bourbon.
podcast? I'll kill. No, it's fine.
Yes.
That is exactly what I'm doing.
Well, now that we're here, should we just dive right into it in our first segment, which we like to call
News talk.
It's Time for the News. It's time for the news.
News.
I gotta do it every time at this point.
Current events.
Oh God. Let's bring up our first news story today, which is about The Last of Us, the TV show.
Yo, I'm excited for this.
So as we all may know, we've heard that The Last of Us was going to become a TV show on HBO, and we just got the announcement that HBO has ordered a full series order for it. So we're getting a full first season of The Last of Us show. Right now, it's going to be in 2022, I think.
Oh my gosh, that's so far.
Yeah. It's apparently, the funny thing is that it looks like it's gonna potentially, depending on when they release it, it's gonna compete with The Walking Dead's final season as well, which is gonna be
Oh wow.
That's a
quite
show
funny to
that still exists.
I definitely stopped watching that a while ago.
Yeah, I've stopped watching that a long
Yeah,
time ago.
I'm surprised that they actually put a finish line on it. I thought they'd just make it forever.
Well, the show, the comic book ended a while ago, a couple years ago at this point.
Oh, wow.
But the show is not going anywhere where the comic book was going at any point. So I'm surprised that,
Yeah.
for the same reason, that it didn't just last forever. Who watches that show? I don't care.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to be really into it.
Yeah, I want to, just so I can say I finished it,
Right.
but I'm like 5 seasons behind at this point,
There's a lot of material to catch up
and it's
to.
just like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's just gotten to be a lot.
The Negan storyline's real bad, but after that it gets really good. But no one cares about that. No one get past Negan. It's a whole thing.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for this Last of Us TV show, though. I kind of wish that it was about like a different story other than exactly the game.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
about the game story?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was about to jump into that. So apparently it is going to be about Joel and Ellie still, and like the first game. That's all we know.
Boo.
We know very little, but it is apparently going to be about Joel and Ellie.
I just feel like they did that story so perfectly and so beautifully in the game.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, I'm excited to watch it, but I feel like I know that story and I like live that story better than a TV show could represent for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel so
Right.
attached playing the game. I wish I could see, like, there's so much lore with all the stories you were reading, but I'm excited nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll definitely watch it. I'm interested in, like, will the first season be the first game, or is it going to be like one section, or like what?
That's
Are they
true.
going to dive deep into more like side characters? I don't
Yeah.
know, but I'm still excited. Hopefully zombies aren't stale by that point. But the cool thing is, it is being produced by people from Naughty Dog. Like Naughty
Oh.
Dog is producing the show,
Hell yeah.
and Neil Druckmann, one of the co-creators of The Last of Us, he is writing it and also producing it. And this woman named Cheryl Strauss, she was an executive producer or just a regular producer of. Did you guys ever watch Chernobyl on HBO? I heard that show was amazing.
I
but
heard it was
never
really
watched
good.
it.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Well,
great
the
things.
one of the writers on that show is co-writing it with Neil Druckmann, but
Ooh,
Cheryl Strauss, she was a producer of Chernobyl and also Game of Thrones, and she's producing Last of Us.
sick.
So it's got a lot of people that will make it seem like it's gonna be awesome. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Very
And
exciting.
Sony, it's in collaboration with Sony Pictures Television. They're working with HBO to produce it. It looks like they're keeping it close to the brand, which is good for the story, I would hope.
Yeah. I love HBO, man. I love everything they're doing. Shout out to HBO. What's up with the sponsorship?
Yeah. I definitely
They're
like
not paying us.
trust
We
it.
don't care.
Trust
man.
it more in the hands of HBO than maybe some of the other like streaming, platforms. I feel like they'll.
Yeah. I think HBO has a better budget than Netflix for
About to
one
say,
thing, so I
Netflix
know
was
it's
gonna-
look better.
Netflix would have fucked that up. It would have been
Yeah.
so bad.
Oh man.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, so the money's there.
but in the hands of HBO, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping for a Hugh Jackman as a Joel because I think he'd be a
Ooh.
fucking fantastic Joel.
Oh, did they say who's gonna be Joel? Is he?
No,
under
they
the
haven't done
wraps?
any casting yet, but he's my
Oh.
choice because if you've seen Prisoners, he's basically Joel in that movie. Go watch
Definitely.
it; it's amazing. And it makes you wonder if it continues. Will they go straight into The Last of Us Part 2 in like a future season, or do they change the story? I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's that. Our next news story is, did you guys watch or have you guys watched the Fantastic Beasts movies, the
Mm,
Harry Potter spin-off prequels?
I saw the
movies?
first one. That was pretty cool.
First one's great. I enjoy the first one a lot. The second one is kind of meh. It's not great. But the villain in it, who was played by Johnny Depp, Grindelwald, is no longer being played by Johnny Depp in the third movie. He
Oh.
has been officially replaced by Mads Mikkelsen. You might recognize him as the villain from the first what's his name? James Bond, Casino Royale. Daniel Craig.
Mhm.
That's his name.
He's the
The
villain
first
in that
Daniel Craig, the villain guy who
Okay.
he plays poker with who bleeds from his eyeball.
Has that man done nothing since then?
no, he's done a lot.
You may know
Uh,
him from this movie from early.
I mean, he was in Rogue One. He's the main girl's
Mhm.
dad in Rogue One, the Star Wars movie. He's done
He
a
was
lot.
in,
He was Hannibal on
He's
that
the
TV
villain
show.
in Doctor Strange.
Okay.
I mean,
You're right.
yeah, he's done a
Right.
lot of stuff recently. But
Yeah, he's great. He's a good actor. He is now replacing Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. Which, I mean, if you're replacing Johnny Depp, he's great.
mhm.
It's big shoes to fill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted him to be Geralt when they were first talking about the Witcher show. I wanted him to be
Oh, you did,
Geralt,
didn't
yeah.
you? I remember that.
yeah, because like I don't know, he just has
Yeah, you're
that the
dumb.
look,
Johnny Depp or the other guy? I'm
No,
sorry.
Mads Mikkelsen, yeah, but I don't know.
God, please don't make Johnny Depp be girl. That'd be
Yeah.
terrible.
That would be a weird show.
That would have been interesting.
No offense to Johnny Depp, but no.
He might I don't know, he might breathe some new life into that franchise because like I know like it's gotten mixed reviews from what I've heard. I've seen like parts of the first one, I think, but I didn't see
Yeah.
the whole thing. But I think like Mads Mikkelsen is definitely good.
Right. And honestly, I don't think Johnny Depp is the worst part of that second movie because I think he's really good as
Mhm.
Grindelwald. It's unfortunate that he's in the predicament he's in and also kind of a bad person. So yeah, we probably shouldn't. But we're not gonna get into their whole dilemma because that's a lot of
No,
they're
that's
both bad people and probably don't deserve each other and whatever. But yeah, so I'm excited. I hope this franchise is already kind of in a weird space because you have J.K. Rowling saying stuff that she shouldn't be saying or thinking, and so it's like people are already doubting this whole franchise, and it's
Mhm.
who knows what's going on. It's just they need to save it and somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe this will help.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. And luckily they have, since it's a magical world, they have the out to just be like, yeah, this is him. He's just changed his face because it's
Yeah,
magic.
boom.
whatever.
Cause-
Yeah, took the potion, boom.
So they have it
Did it
out.
for disguise.
So that's that. Our next story, Brian, you're gonna love this because I know how much you love Hawkeye. The Disney Plus Marvel Hawkeye show. We got a bit of a cast update.
Man.
The people
Oh,
don't
boy.
know the lore that I dislike Hawkeye.
Establish it now. Brian
he's
hates Hawkeye.
he's a boring character.
Yeah.
He kind of is just a really talented dude.
Yeah,
is
he's
what
not
Greg-
a superhero.
he's a tertiary character in the comics. Like he doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I wish he was cooler. I'm fine with him. His best
Man.
Hawkeye stuff is in, I think, Civil War.
Yeah.
And also he's cool. I mean, he's cool as Ronan in Endgame, but yeah, it's that hair is bad though. We're not gonna
that
talk
hair.
about it.
His skill set
Yeah,
is
it's fun.
definitely like a sidekick at best. Like don't put him in the Avengers, He's not an
You
Avenger.
got a
He's-
man that turns into a
Avengers B
giant
team.
giant green monster. Then you have a dude with 13 arrows. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not for
is
me.
Hawkeye considered a superhero or is it just a
Uh,
sidekick?
Well, that goes into like, do you have to be? What does super mean? Do you have to be enhanced to be super, or
I think so.
normal? Is a fireman a superhero, Alex?
Depends on if you're talking about the real world or a comic.
Because in a comic book, he ain't shit.
Yeah, in the comic book, like superheroes are always saving the firemen, but in real life, I would say yes.
yeah.
But yeah, so we got some cast update. So obviously, Jeremy Renner's still playing Hawkeye in that TV show.
Right.
And
Okay.
Haley Steinfeld, the girl from Bumblebee, that Transformers Bumblebee. She was in a couple of, like, those Pitch Perfect movies and True Grit.
I'm
remake.
familiar with her, but I'm probably the only one.
Yeah, so she is playing. Well, rumored, it's not confirmed. She's playing Kate Bishop, who takes up the mantle of Hawkeye. She's not his kid, but she takes up the mantle from him, and he trains her and stuff. We already knew those two were in the show, but we got that Florence Pugh, she's in the Black Widow movie that we still haven't seen yet. She's playing the blonde Black Widow, basically, who also most people are saying will now become the new Black Widow post
Oh.
Endgame. Spoiler: Black Widow's dead.
Wow.
So she is said, people are assuming she's gonna take up the new Black Widow, and she's appearing in the Hawkeye show as that character. So that's interesting, since this Hawkeye show is post Endgame, one would assume. So she's gonna be in it. Do you guys know who Vera Farmiga is? Farmiga, she's in the Conjuring movies, and she's in a lot of scary movies. She's the lady who's in charge of all the horror stuff. One of the fake ghost hunting people. She's the woman in those
okay.
movies.
I don't know.
Yeah, if I saw her face, probably.
Yeah, she's playing Haley Steinfeld's mom, or Kate Bishop's mom, Eleanor Bishop. Yeah, so we just got a little bit of cast updates. The other cool one is, I'm gonna really fuck this name up. I think her name is Alakia Cox. She's playing Maya Lopez / Echo. The cool thing about her is she's Native American, and her abilities, she can perfectly mimic her opponent's movements.
Ooh.
And she's one of the very few like deaf characters in comics to come to live action. So that's pretty
cool.
Diversity, yay!
Ooh.
Nice.
So yeah, this show's far from being out. I
No,
even know
don't
if they
tell me
started
that.
production.
Because now I'm interested.
When I think about what this show is going to be like, I just cannot not think about the Arrow show on the CW, and it's just going to be a lot of
I mean, it's gonna be. It's gonna be better
I
than
hope
that.
so.
Absolutely.
I hope
no
so.
question.
I hope all.
Well,
There's
for
no
one thing, it'll have a budget.
I mean, just like all these shows, man. Just like don't do the, like I don't know, just don't do anything like what any of the CW shows do, and I will fight.
Well, judging,
anybody.
you've seen how Mandalorian looks.
Right.
They're gonna have money.
That's true.
It's gonna
I
look
think-
better.
right.
They're gonna treat it.
Disney has all the money, so
Right.
Literally.
Like, they're
It'll
gonna
be
throw
Right,
down.
but it's not just that. Like they're gonna set it up to have like I mean I don't know. Even going on side quests like in Mandalorian, it's like that's still better than like the typical TV stuff where you just got to fill time every week, which is what the
Going
CW
on
shows
side
do so
quests.
much. Like I don't know, just no coffee shop sets, okay, in any of these TV shows.
I hope there's one
no,
coffee shop.
no,
they go into.
zero. All right, I
hope
swear.
I hope
to
they go
God.
every
scene.
episode. They go to a coffee
Okay,
shop.
Yeah, they just
I
go
I mean,
hang
if
out.
it's Hawkeye, like I could see Hawkeye hanging out in the coffee shop.
Oh,
on his days.
just
Like,
talking
With
about
that-
his
with that
feelings,
haircut,
you know,
yeah.
honestly.
like
You can't walk in the normal world with that haircut. Are you kidding me?
People
With
just
a haircut and a scarf.
People will be looking at you everywhere you went.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
seriously, that's your hair.
You walk into New York City, you're just another hipster. It's cool.
Yeah, that haircut was like kind of a cry for help too. It's like it's like no guys, I'm the Avengers too. Like look at my hair. It's like nah,
Look
you're
at
not a
my
real
hair.
hero, dude. Like just chill out.
He gets an A cut into the side of his head.
Yeah, just like just cut it short. Just do it like normal, crew cut, whatever. But like you're not, don't try to be special. Like
He's aerodynamic, helps him like line up shit. Gotta line up the shot.
So that's that. Our next news story. This is a really cool thing I wanted us all to bring up because it's important, and it's just a really sweet moment in history. The actor Elliot Page, has announced that he's transgender. You would know him from Juno. And did you guys watch The Umbrella Academy? I haven't watched it.
I did, and I heard it was pretty good.
I'm getting mixed reviews about it, so I haven't been ecstatic about watching it, but I do
Yeah.
hear it's decent.
I've gotten
At least
like
the first season's
halfway
very good.
halfway through the first season, but I can't so it's like it's good enough to get me that far, but I haven't it's not good enough to like keep me hooked. To like
I didn't
go
know
back.
that he was in that show.
Yeah, he's like, I would say, like probably the biggest name that show pulled.
Right. Okay. But yeah, that's super awesome news. I think that's really amazing.
I think it's really cool. And the show, they did say that they would reflect that. They wouldn't change the character's gender in the show, they said so far, or like from what they've discussed, but the name, obviously, in the credits, it would say Elliot Page, starring Elliot Page in the credits. So just wanted to bring that up because that's a really awesome thing that people are excited for, and and we're all in there for.
Yeah,
It's pretty
that's
sweet.
awesome.
That's really cool. Way to go, Elliot.
Yeah, congrats to Elliot. Congratulations. That's awesome. Other news story. This is a sad. This is sorry. I should have did the opposite. I went from high to low. I should have went from low to high. David Prowse died. You would know him as he's the man who didn't sound a voice Darth Vader, but he was the man in the suit. Who,
Oh right, yeah, I remember
he
reading.
did
that.
all the walking around and lumbering. Although he was acting, he was saying the lines in those suits. You can look it up. It's kind of hilarious. He passed away at 85. It's very funny if you go watch it because he does not sound like James Earl Jones.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, he passed away at 85. I just wanted to bring that up because Star Wars was a big thing for all of us, and even though none of us knew who David Prowse was when we first watched those movies, because obviously when you first think of Darth Vader, most people would think of James Earl Jones because that voice is so empowering, and it's like, oh my god, who's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we did want to acknowledge because he's a big part of movie magic and history.
Yeah. I have an artist friend that knew him apparently fairly well. They kept in touch for a while after he had met him like a convention or something. Apparently, super sweet guy. Yeah, very tall, just very nice dude.
Wow.
All in all,
right. Well, he was a weightlifter.
Yeah,
massive dude, and rest in peace, David Prowse.
Yeah, definitely, legend.
But that's it, guys. We get it. We got through all the newses.
Woo,
all the newses. We did it.
We did it.
I lied. I do want to do one more. We're gonna end on an upper. I fucked that downer. We're gonna end on an upper. It's real quick. Chadwick Boseman, his birthday passed. He would have been 44. To somewhat kind of celebrate his memory, Marvel on the Disney Plus version of Black Panther. You know the little Marvel title card that it flips at the beginning with the logo and you see all the characters.
Those are always fun.
For the intro to Black Panther, they changed it to just be all images of Chadwick Boseman, and whether he's on set or in character. And it was just a nice, really sweet thing for them to do.
That's awesome.
We miss him. It's the world's a sadder place without him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But his memory will live for literally forever.
Yeah.
There we go. It's a bit of an upper. We'll end on a slight upper. That was a roller coaster ride. But yeah. All right. That's all the news, guys. You guys ready to move on to our main topic?
Let's do it.
Bang, bang.
All right. Now it is time. It is the time of the hour. It's time for us to move on to our main topic of the week. But guys, once again, we seem to be trapped in a different fortress, and I don't know where we are. It's unrecognizable. To me, it seems like we're in the fortress of
the top 3 video games of ultimate time.
The top 3 games.
My top games. The games I love. I love games.
Top 3. All time.
Love them.
The top 3. Yeah.
In case anyone found that completely inaudible, we're discussing our top 3 video games of all time.
Time.
And so we only had one rule going into this, and that was we were only able to talk about one game per franchise. So if someone picked Mass Effect 2, they were not allowed to pick Mass Effect 1 or 3, but also Devin's the wild card. So we'll see what happens. That was the only rule we established, so we're going to go through our top 3 favorite video games of all time, and we each get 2 honorable mentions. So to start off, let's start with our top 3. We'll all go around round robin style, and I think that's the same.
Round robin, is that a thing?
Round robin, that's real.
Do our number 3. Devin, you go first. I want you to go first.
Yeah, let's hear Devin. I'm
all right.
Well,
third video game of all time.
Third video game of all time.
Top 3. And yes, it was. I definitely was not thinking about this the right way leading up to it because I thought I could just pick a whole franchise for because that's easy. But you got to pick up a specific one. Very hard. However, I did think about it in terms of one game is for one thing overall. So number 3 on my list, because it's a lower priority for me, is my favorite multiplayer game of all time. Because usually I like games like I like other games. You guys, you might know where this is going, and you're gonna hate me for it. But
oh fuck,
the suspense is killing us.
My third favorite game of all time is Rocket League.
It
is the reason. It is the reason we have video games. It is the reason we make video games. Okay, Rocket League, a concept of a game where I can play soccer with a car that flies around and drives on walls and the ceiling, and you fly around and hit this ball. It's utter chaos, and it is so fun. Like
with rocket boosters.
I've never had like just more pure fun with any game where you can just hop in, like play a few rounds, and you're just having a great time like all the time. Or you're like throwing a controller into your TV because you just lost a game in like overtime. One way or the other. It's so fun. So much fun. It's the only game I've ever really played seriously like online. Like I've never played like Call of Duty, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
I've never heard Devin more excited in his life.
I'm telling you guys.
So I'm gonna make a hot take right here. I'm gonna make a hot take about it and why he's correct in picking a game like this. So Fall Guys, we all know that's a game that came out recently that people love.
That game
right?
is so frustrating.
And I think it's games like this succeed and do so well because it's a good middle ground between really competitive and party game. And I think that's what makes it so fun is it doesn't have to be a super sweaty game.
No.
And I think that's what just kind of draws people too. You know what I mean? Like if you suck
that is a perfect way to describe it. A super sweaty.
Like if you suck at Rocket League, like you're not gonna be that mad because you suck. Like, oh, you know, I tried my best and oh, it went over me. No,
well,
like you know what I mean? It's like there's something about that just feels good to deal with, especially when you come from things like Call of Duty where people are so fucking
toxic.
You know,
yeah,
right.
And Call of Duty, you're gonna be toxic.
Well, and like nowadays, if you play ranked and stuff, it can be kind of toxic. But when you play casual, people usually just have a good time. But additionally, why I picked Rocket League is because it's really, really well. So like the developer, I think Psyonix, they developed it really well. Like there's bots. You can play like a season with like bots, which is kind of fun. It's not very competitive. It's pretty easy. But they're also creative. Like they would put in different maps where you'd play like different, styles. And then they brought in like a basketball variant. They brought in a variant where you like have to break through the floor to score. I mean, they're so very creative. Like they put time and stuff into trying different things.
It's like the Destiny of car soccer games.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've never played that game.
So
I'll be completely honest. I've never played
it's a good example of like what a video game is. Like in essence, like if you were to describe that, it sounds like a great video game.
Well, that's why I say it's the reason we have video games. It's the reason we as a society decided to make video games is to have.
It's the perfect way, and the fact that if you describe that to an adult, they'd be like, "That's nonsense."
Right.
I love it. That's a great top 3.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be your number 1, Devin. Though I thought it was gonna be number 1, which I'm not mad at.
If that was Devin's number 1, I'd quit.
Yeah, it can't be my number 1.
I know his number 1,
but it's definitely my top number 3, number 3 all time.
Nice.
Best multiplayer.
Very nice. Who wants to go next?
I say Alex should. I'm really curious on what
you guys want to know what my 3rd favorite game is of all time?
Yeah, mostly because you just had to figure it out. Like,
I had a solid list. I like started off with like a list of like 7 great games, and then I narrowed it down to like 4 of my ultimate ones that I kind of like really dissected in my head. But it took me a while to drop one of them and make it 3. But my 3rd favorite game of all time, after careful consideration, it's Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Ooh.
Oh,
interesting.
This game,
I did not see that coming.
This game is huge.
I didn't even know you played that.
Oh my gosh, I played it all right. I wish I replayed it more. I think I played it twice, but I would love to like dig into it now because it's been a long time. I kind of found it late in the game in my high school time, and it was like just like kind of off the wall. I thought it was gonna be something like I kind of heard about the series and the franchise as being like an original for like stealth action games, which I was really into. I like the Tom Clancy like Splinter Cell and stuff. And I kind of heard about this game and was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, whatever. And just when I was like thought I had things figured out or whatever, it's just more or less straightforward like stealth action game. Okay. It just threw me through all these loops that I really was not expecting. It's like hilarious and funny and really quirky and odd and just has like a kind of a self-awareness to it that was really
Kojima
different.
is like the master.
Yeah, and this is my first like Kojima game, and I feel like it really represents like who he is as a game creator. It was just so out there, but still grounded in like really serious tones and dramatic settings. Just the cutscenes alone, everything just felt like a movie and super cinematic, and I was just so into it.
Alex, I have a feeling this conversation might come around when we reach one of my games coming.
Oh no!
Oh.
This is gonna be really interesting.
Well, as a
This is
fan
funny as
of
fuck,
Metal
man.
Gear, I've played not all of them, but I've played a lot of them. I played 3, 2, number 4, Ground Zeroes, the recent one.
You've probably played the most out of everybody.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
will
you
and I
probably
will
have.
say, I haven't played the first one, which I really want to, but
Have you played Phantom Pain, the fifth one?
yeah. Ground Zeroes, Phantom
The one,
Pain.
yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, my bad.
I haven't played it.
It's pretty great.
You should.
It's pretty great, but
Should.
the third one, my favorite. Yeah.
Your
Very
favorite.
nice.
Funny.
I did not.
I
didn't
think
even about that.
mostly
That's a wild
because it
card.
was my first entry to the series, and more so it was my first like time with a game that was so like like aware and breaking the fourth wall a
Right.
lot. I had really never experienced that in a game in that kind of context, and it was like it really like tripped me out. Like, oh my gosh, they like there's like a codec where they are like on the radio with each other and stuff, and it seemed like they were talking to me, the player, at a lot of times, and it was just really like took me out of my element. Like normally you would want to be lost in a story, but for this it was like reminding you that you're in a story, you're in a game, and it was just really trippy. Like, whoa! As a kid, it was really
Yeah.
far out.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, I did not. That's a good one.
No, so yeah, I want to say about Hideo Kojima, like he's the perfect amalgamation of what we think of when we think of genius and madness being two sides of the same coin.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
man is weird, and the things that he creates are so odd and so crazy, but they're so smart.
He's an
But it
artist,
works
man.
It
somehow.
works. Like I think it's just one of those things where he's a genius when it comes to creating a story. And
Oh my god, yeah.
I really need to go through and play all the Metal Gear Solid specifically, just
It
because.
Yeah.
shouldn't work. It's
Right.
on paper that shit does
It's
not
so
work.
balls
but
to
it
the wall,
makes it
crazy
work.
and nonsensical at
Ugh.
times, but it just really
Yeah.
does work so well.
Death Stranding is UPS the video game.
Right?
It shouldn't be fun.
I haven't.
And a lot of times I hear it's not.
I haven't played that
But-
yet. I don't want to be disappointed, but it looks.
I've
it
owned
looks
that for
okay.
nearly a year and still haven't started.
Oh.
People still love it, and people don't
Yeah.
love like the mechanics so much because the mechanics are what they are. But people
Yeah.
are so excited just to see what the fuck he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I mean,
Right.
you saw the trailers and things for that game. That game looks ridiculous,
Yeah.
but I know it works.
For as many games that I realize I love so much, it really is the mechanics for me that sets a game into my top. But with that said, Metal Gear Solid is a pretty clunky game mechanically. And I think the one that I played originally was like the redone version, so it was like a normal third person shooter type of game where you can move the right analog stick to control the camera. But I think when they
Right.
first released 3 and 2
It was like tank
and 1,
controls
it was you couldn't really move the camera that much. I think you
Nope.
might have been
Yeah,
able to like tap
absolutely
the
not.
trigger to like swap it, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I think you could only like move the camera when you're in first person view, but even then you can't walk around at
Right.
the same
Yeah.
time. So I'm just
Mhm.
like, as a player, I'm like, how is that even possible? But people still loved it. Look, I was lucky and got the like revamped version with the newer controls, but super solid game even without like the mechanical like fluidness. But I will say lastly, I think it's a great game because so many games have a title that are based in the story, which makes sense. But Metal Gear Solid, this one, Snake Eater, they don't really talk about eating snakes or that being like a thematic
Right, it's
element
like
in the game. His name is Snake,
Yeah.
but like Snake Eater, what does that mean? And I think it boils down to one of the game mechanics that the like universe creates is like you have to
Isn't that what the operation's called?
you
though?
have to hunt and you have to like
You have to eat snakes.
you have to eat snakes at a point in time. It's like that's all there
No,
is.
like isn't that the like the like the whole plot, like it's like Operation Snake
Oh,
Eater.
wow,
That's
is
the
it?
name of what he's going
I-
under.
I'm-
I think that's what it is.
You might-
I
you
haven't
might be
played it,
right.
but I've went back and looked through all that. I think so. I could be.
That
I could be
sounds-
wrong.
You do also eat snakes.
That sounds
You
super
also eat
familiar,
snakes.
but you do eat snake. I really resonated with the whole like eating system, like to stay
Literally
alive.
and figuratively, you do.
It was
eat
it was
There's
a
an
serious
eating system.
survival game.
Oh my
Yeah, you
gosh.
got to like eat to survive. Like you have like a
Wow.
health
Yeah.
bar, an energy bar, a psyche bar. Like you got to like stay focused when you're out there in the field.
Right.
Dang.
No, that's a really interesting concept. I think that's why everyone loved that game when it first came out. So I love that you even though you played it later, you still loved it for that reason.
It was
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's
game.
cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, Brian, what you got?
Yeah, I would very much like to go next, only because this was not on purpose. I want to. So I have a couple prefaces before we get into this. So
We've already
first and
established
foremost,
Brian's the anime guy, so what we got?
I'm the anime guy, and also apparently I just like too many fucking video games, so that's a whole thing with me. But you guys know that I'm a very big comfort gamer. My big thing is the games that I love, I play probably once a year at least. I usually play a lot of games and revisit them a lot just because they bring a certain nostalgic feel that just really is important to me.
Mhm.
My other preface is this was 100%. I want the audience to know that we did not do this on purpose. But my number 3 game
Is it?
is Metal Gear Solid 1.
I knew it. Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
It is Metal Gear Solid 1. And it was
Nice.
once again, I had to think about where I was coming from as a gamer. And Metal Gear Solid 1, me and Oscar, when we were living together, we talked about it and about how much I loved that game and how much I wanted to revisit it. And I actually revisited it recently, like within the last couple of months, and actually played that game through again. And I fucking love that game. And it is so good for a lot of the same reasons that you talked about, Alex, when you talked about the game as a whole, is that fourth wall break that you get through, just the storyline as a whole, the way that it kind of mixes like that anime mixed with kind of like real life. These are things that can actually happen in real life, like talking about the nuclear war,
Right.
and kind of like our weird stalemate that we had with like that kind of situation.
It's like an alternate reality, but
Absolutely.
it's so weird.
Yeah,
It's so
totally.
And that was a fun thing about replaying this game recently, is because like when I played the first time, I was a small child because, you know, this game came out in the 90s. So whenever it got to like the big talk about the Cold War and stuff like that, like I hit skip. It's like I want to shoot more people with solid snake. I don't give a fuck about this. But to revisit it and kind of see how close to real life it
crazy.
was and kind of how it is was super interesting. Like that information and lore behind Metal Gear as a
Especially
whole.
coming from a man.
A Japanese
from
man.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like he was so invested in like American history in those games. I feel like there's definitely like world history, but it's like so interesting how it's like there's no I don't even think there's a real mention of Japan in any of those
Nope,
games.
absolutely not. I mean,
Like there's a mention, yeah, there's like yeah.
Well,
His
were those
whole-
games released in Asia anywhere, or were they just like an American?
no, they're
video
Japan
game?
No,
first.
I mean, they were released
Hideo
worldwide.
Kojima's, Konami, not Konami. Yeah, it's Konami. Konami,
Yeah, it's
that's a
Konami.
Japanese company completely. Hideo Kojima working under that. I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure he's been to America now, but like at the time that game
I mean,
came out,
he loves America. Like
But-
notoriously, he's in love with America and American film, which is why he gets so many like famous people in his games now. And
Yeah.
like, why he's all
and I
he's
mean,
very about
Solid
that.
Snake is just the ultimate archetype of just, you know, the white male protagonist of, you know, military film.
He's the ultimate soul. He's Captain America.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
So
he's
it's so funny that a
Jeff,
Japanese
he's
man made that.
designed after Jeff Bridges in Escape from L.A., Escape from New York.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. I
Yeah.
get them.
I didn't know
confused. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What's the director's name? Something Carpenter. He did the thing.
John Carpenter.
Yeah, he's the man.
So I'm saying that if you love Alex, you specifically, and I tell this to Oscar too, if you love the Metal Gear Solid that you played, please play the
I don't
first
want
one.
to
I need to play the
it.
fir- I did a
that
lot of reading about
polygonal
it.
mess. I want
I'm
to
telling you.
redo.
Yeah,
If you're
it's
I
probably
do want to
clunky
reboot as
hell.
well. But I think they're in talks about actually making a remake of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
I wanna
I
see
know
it.
I would buy that. I would
I
buy
know we
that.
said they didn't, but even if you can get past graphics being a thing, and I'm the
I can
kind of person
totally
that
get
doesn't
past
care too much
graphics
about it.
as long as it feels
I
good.
could.
You know?
the,
Yeah.
the story of that is so good. One of the
Yeah,
things is the fourth wall breaks of like everyone kind of knows this. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but so if people won't care, whatever. But Psycho Mantis, one of the boss fights, he's one of the people part of Foxhound. That's a villain in the game. He can read your mind, and that's the whole part of like this area of the game. And when you're fighting him, he knows every single move that you do and just fucks you up, and you don't understand what the fuck you're supposed to do. So you're looking around trying to figure it out. And he started reading your memory card. He knows exactly what games you played on your memory card. So he'd be like, "Oh, I see you like Crash Bandicoot," and you're like, "What the fuck? How does he know this shit? What's going on?" So what you have to do, a fourth wall break, is if you don't want him to read your mind, you plug the controller into the second controller port of their PlayStation
So
1
cool.
system. And that's just like, what? Who thinks of things like this to do in a game where they make you actually have to do something
Crazy,
in the real
man.
fucking
And also
world?
a
Yeah.
But
That is so
that's what you had
cool.
to do in order to beat him, so he couldn't read your mind anymore. It was plug it into the second controller slot and then play the game like that
That's wild.
when you're fighting him. Just things like that. I don't know. That's all I got for that. Love that game. Everyone should play it. I don't
we
care
could
how you feel about
definitely
anything.
do an entire episode on the whole Metal Gear saga, everything. We could do a
So
whole
good
game for
a
that.
whole
Man, I
fucking
never played them
episode.
because I thought they always looked goofy. But I mean, after what you two have just said, I mean, I need to get in on it.
They are
Like
amazing
the
games.
only
I think
reason
you
I
would
won't
really
go back and
appreciate
play
them.
one
Devin.
right now, like I would, but I can feel it in my core that like it's coming out again soon. I can feel it, man. I can feel it.
I sure hope so. Because mechanically, like Alex said, it's not.
Because like
great
that's the
right
only
now.
one
It
they
is
haven't
dated.
re-released at all.
They re-released it on GameCube,
Right.
but that
like,
one is a
I
lesser
meant
version.
in the past decade.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
they re-released
It's on
all
it's
the
on the
other-
PlayStation Network on a PS4, but it's still the same like version though, I think, right?
Yeah, it's just updated like graphics and stuff like that. But there's not like a
Yeah, I don't even think they have number. They don't have number one on
No.
there yet. It's only
Right,
two
that's
and
what
No,
three.
Yeah.
I saw they had a number one a while ago. They did. I
Yeah,
almost
it
got
might
it.
just be like a port. But yeah,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for
Okay.
like
Maybe it was
that
a-
Final
maybe it was a
Fantasy
dream.
VII remake. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna get back to this topic in a little bit.
Absolutely.
We can go deep. Oscar, what about you? What's your top 3?
I wish I
game?
could continue the trend, but my number 3. Oh, I didn't decide, did I? Oh yeah, I did.
Dun,
Sorry.
dun,
I was looking at I
dun.
had to look again. I was like, my number 3 is not a game I played today, and it's a game I probably haven't played in over 10 years. But the impact and influence that I couldn't deny it. The amount of hours and the amount of games that I played in this franchise, I felt like I had no choice because we were doing all time and not just right now. So I was like, okay, that goes to childhood. So my number 3 is the original Pokemon Red.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's
That
a
is
good
my
one.
number
Got
3.
him.
And I was like,
Nice.
just the amount of hours and the fact that they were able to trick me into buying the same game like 8 times. I was like, I have to. I don't have a choice in the matter now.
That is a great one.
I was like, just the influence, like not just me, like the whole world, like everyone knew what Pokemon was.
Oh
at
my
that time.
gosh, yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. The like
It's hilarious that you said that because literally before we started talking, I was just texting someone talking about Pokemon because they talked about how they got Pokemon socks, and I was like, I also have Pokemon socks. I still think about Pokemon in my day-to-day life as almost a 30-year-old.
crazy. It's crazy.
You want to talk about like a household video game, a household name,
Right. Like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that was
absolutely.
something that even parents knew what that was. Like
Cultural
Yeah.
phenomenon. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I like it just as a kid. Again, it's a game like I haven't touched in over a decade, but the influence that it had me on games and the amount of hours I put into it and the amount of just like obsession with it was just like I have to put it in there. It was just so much fun as a kid. Even like this was at a point where I didn't care about grinding in games because that's all that game is really. It's just a grind.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays, I'm like, I don't want to fucking grind for this I don't want to do this anymore. But like as a kid, it's
Mhm.
like you could do that for hours, and like you would like trade with your friends, and like you would like
Oh,
get
man.
the Game Shark, and there were even like conspiracies in this game. Do you guys remember the Mew conspiracy about
Under
that
the truck?
truck?
Mew was under the
behind- You had
truck.
to use a move to move that truck, and then Mew would be behind. It's like insanity.
Was that real or who knows?
No.
And I mean,
Oh man.
that's a crazy thing that I love about games back in the day when internet wasn't such a big thing. Because
Yeah.
like now,
Mhm.
if you say something exists, I mean, the developer themselves will just tweet you and be
Right.
like, no, it's not. And you'll be like, okay.
Or
whatever.
secondly, they'll
But,
put
like,
it in the
back then-
game after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like now, like back in the day, it's like you just had to
You
kind
just
of
had to believe.
think about it and wonder. And it would always be something that's just like a little bit like too hard for you to do or want to do. Like it'd be like a little bit too much grinding or something. So you knew it was
Right.
possible. But you were like, I don't know that I would want to.
Or it was just like
But then
rumors,
you-
like you just heard from on the playground, like,
Yeah.
oh, is that where you catch Mewtwo? Let me like you go home and try it and be like, man, Billy was fucking pulling my leg.
What's the fuck? No, I have a question for you guys though, and hopefully you guys can answer this quickly because I know just straight up favorite
Pikachu.
Pokemon. We're gonna stick to. Is that true? Is it actually Pikachu? Were you really that quick on it?
I don't know.
Favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite Pokemon?
Ooh.
Oh shit.
Alakazam.
That's not bad.
Alakazam. Ooh, that's an
I
interesting.
think for me it was
one.
Sandslash.
Sandslash.
I like these picks.
Yeah, I
These
like
are strong,
Sandslash
guys.
the most.
Word.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Oscar?
out of just being Ash for Halloween and having a Pikachu, but
See, you
I
ruined
did.
the trend. We were
Fuck-
getting some real like obscure
you.
ones, and then you just hit with Pikachu. I'm pissed.
We were doing so well.
but out of like the one that I was obsessed with when it came to like the actual cards, Charizard.
Charizard. Okay.
I remember getting that
That's
holographic
better.
Charizard card, man. That was the best day of my life.
Oh, man. Y'all hear about this is a little side note. Logic bought a first generation Charizard. You know the rapid Logic.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Mhm.
Bobby. Yeah. He bought first generation Charizard for like $130,000.
I have one of those.
Yeah.
You could have
Holy
bought it off
shit.
me.
Yeah, there's something special about that one in particular, but also your first generation one's probably worth at least $500, $600.
Yeah, I still
I
have
think that's
that.
at the very least.
Bro, you got bank right there.
Yeah. My favorite one was Arcanine, by the way.
Oh, that was a
Growlithe
good one.
Evolution.
See,
Yeah.
you were also one of
Arcanine.
those people that called it that. I always, for the longest time, called it
Arcanine?
Arcanine.
Arcanine. Yeah.
Which-
they say in the anime, they
Yeah,
call it
yeah.
Arcanine.
Which
So,
version of that game was that guy in?
The first one.
he was in the first generation.
Oh,
He's Growlithe, the fire puppy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
evolution of him.
Word.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Mhm.
Well, okay,
Love it.
second question. Which came first, the show, the anime, or the game?
Game.
Was there a manga?
So the cards came
Right.
first.
Oh.
They're called Pocket Monsters in Japan, and then I think they made the game, and I think the anime came
I think
from
so,
that.
too.
That's so cool. That's a great
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, and it's still going strong to this day somehow.
God, that's such a fucking good one, dude.
I told you that was
Oh,
that was
man,
my
I'm
one
so
like
mad at you for
surprise wild card. The other two aren't going to be as surprising. That was the one I had.
I
didn't even
actually
think about
I
that.
actually considered that game, but I didn't put it on there. But it is very near and dear to my heart, especially childhood. I feel like for a lot of us that are our age, that was like, when I was first getting into video games.
That's like
Game,
our Tetris, sort of.
yeah, that game
Yeah,
made
absolutely.
us.
Like we
More or
could
less.
easily, all three of us could say Tetris. We all love Tetris. It's such a perfect game. But like Pokemon was kind of our Tetris.
Yeah. Or Tetris Battle back in the day. Remember that?
Oh,
God
my
damn it.
goodness.
Tetris
God damn
Battle.
you, Jake.
Yeah.
God damn you, Jake.
We're not here to talk about Tetris Battle, but that was amazing.
That was the weirdest college experience.
Oh, my God.
It's just that existed.
Yeah.
All
Oh.
right, Devin, you're number 2. Let's go.
Okay. My number 2. And I think Brian might pick this one as well. I'm not sure, but I cannot deny the impact that it had on my life. It came to me at the time where where video games were it was like Xbox and the PlayStation 2, it was like peak golden age of games where like the money hadn't
Oh.
ruined them yet.
Mm.
And I
Hmm,
just
what could this be?
yeah, exactly. But it was like I was at that young impressionable age, and then this character came into my life that was so badass, and the story of it, like, not let alone the multiplayer. Okay, like I never even played the multiplayer in like the peak like years of its existence. I just for the story alone, okay, is why I picked this game. The story and the gameplay, and like it was at a time where like most things like games usually had problems.
Get on
Like,
with
you know,
it, man. No.
What is
it?
Well, I was trying to like reverse, like, do it this time. But
No, I'm just kidding.
I
Go,
will
go,
do that
Take
no
your
more.
time.
Okay. The game's title is Halo 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Halo 2?
Halo 2.
I'm interested.
Wow.
I'm happy that you kind of picked that one. I didn't know that had such a big
Oh,
impact
absolutely.
on
It was
you,
the time so I
as
like
it did people like me.
it was the first time, and I never even played the multiplayer. It was like just for how good the main campaign was. And that's what my brother and I
Halo 2 is the best campaign.
and my brother and I played it split screen. That's probably the game we played the most on split screen.
Oh,
we
man.
played
I remember that game did have a lot of a great... I didn't have it, but a lot of friends did, of course. And I played the split screen at a lot of people's houses.
Oh,
That
my
was a
God.
really
It was
great, like,
so
co-op.
good, so good. And we'd play the mission with like the scarab over and over and over and over again. And like, but just the story was so good from start to finish. And then like, you have the whole arbiter coming in with like he's with the aliens, and you got all these politics going on, and just like for a kid, like games were not meant to be that good at that time. Like they were, you know what I mean? Like the first Halo was it was what it was. It launched with the Xbox, but like it still wasn't as good. Like the step between Halo 1 and Halo 2 was so massive. And it basically, I think in my opinion, it was like the first like blockbuster, huge game, at least in my in my
That was
perspective.
the game
Like, it was-
Wow.
that I remember vividly in high school. That was all kids talked about. It was like, yo,
Yeah.
you playing Halo?
Yeah.
You playing Halo? I was like, I don't have an
Yeah,
Xbox.
but
I don't.
it was
play Halo.
the
Yeah.
first one that like they really went all in on like storytelling, music, like making a really good original score. Gameplay was so polished, so good, and then that's that's just campaign alone. Then you talk about the multiplayer, which changed video games as we know it. I mean, Halo was the first one to set up multiplayer as it is now for all like first person shooters, most multiplayer games. They're the ones that started that. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know, for me,
I
and
mean,
like just
you can talk about. I love that you're only talking about the story too, because that's so funny. Because you're talking about that story, and then after all of that, it still was like one of the first really big console shooters to exist.
Exactly.
Not even like it was probably the biggest one. It was the first competitive game that I ever saw on ESPN.
Were they doing stuff
Like,
online before this game? Was that like
there was stuff online for like
Right,
PC and
nothing
stuff,
for
but there
like,
wasn't-
Xbox,
but
it wasn't-
original.
it wasn't the
Xbox
same.
Didn't have that was like right.
It wasn't as
Yeah,
good.
so Halo 1 didn't have Xbox Live didn't exist when Halo 1 came out.
Yeah.
Halo 2, that was like their big game for Xbox Live.
Like PlayStation had
And this
little
game got
things.
so-
They had like SOCOM, but it was nothing was Halo. Nothing
Yeah,
came
nobody
close
was-
to Halo.
SOCOM and
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank. So I
Right.
know I was on the top of the leaderboards of that fucking game.
Yeah.
But it was so great because it was like this weird phenomenon that like console gamers got into the online gaming sphere through that game.
Mhm.
And that was the first game that I competed in personally. That was the first game I saw on ESPN. This was way before like esports was ever a term that mattered. Everyone I knew that was a professional video gamer still worked at Best Buy
Mhm.
at this point. And so like to see that this game flourished the way that it did was just like so impactful. Just I don't know. It was the first time that it felt like that gaming was actually something serious and not just
Mhm.
a child's play
Right.
thing.
People
or
made
whatever.
money.
it-
And I just
for,
kind of
like,
really loved
one of
it.
the very few first
You
times people
made
made money
money.
playing.
Oh,
the game.
absolutely. But it changed video games as we knew them. Like before then, it was like, kind of, and it was in the golden age of video games where like developers had a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom, to make games like this. And then now, obviously now things are, more money is involved and stuff like that. But this was like to me, this was in the golden age of video games. And I was at the right age in middle school of like, being at that impressionable age and like, oh my God, this is so cool. So golden age, golden time of video games, and like of all the golden age games, I mean, it's right up there, if not the top one of all of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, it's got to be in there for sure.
Definitely like one of the most impactful on the industry itself.
Yeah, that's,
Yo,
that's really
yeah,
true.
by far.
That's
by
There's
crazy.
far.
no Call of Duty today if there's no Halo. Like,
Absolutely. I
So.
think that game walked so that Call of Duty could run. Absolutely.
and run it did.
I remember that was like the first game they're like really advertised the dual wielding aspect. That was
Yep,
that was
yep,
such like a
yep.
gimmick, and now it's just like not even like thought about. It's like, of course you're gonna have two guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course you know two guys.
Yeah,
Man, y'all are making my soul happy today. I'm so proud of you guys.
yeah.
I just wanted to say that before we move on.
Also, listeners, if unless I cut it out, I laughed when Devin was explaining for no reason. It's because I was putting a halo over my head because we all knew what he was talking about.
As soon as it wasn't Mass Effect, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I know. where
Once
it's
he
going.
hit the console, what console it was on?
Yeah.
What generation?
You can tell who's the Xbox gamers and who's the PlayStation
Right.
gamers.
yeah. I was trying to draw it out as long as I could without actually saying what it was. But yeah,
I was like, it's Mass Effect 2 until you said the original Xbox. I was like, oh, never mind. It's the other one.
yeah. No.
Good one. That was awesome, Devin. Alex, what you got?
All right. My second favorite video game of all time. This one is another one that's very close to my heart. Super stunning storytelling.
I thought you were about to say
I think
Super
that's-
Mario Brothers.
No. I mean, great game, but no. Actually has a funny comparison. This one is Kingdom Hearts. The first one.
Oh!
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Nice.
It hits me in the feels
first one?
every time. The first one, yeah.
Oh,
It's just such a beautiful, touching story about like friendship and love, and it's not like I don't know. It just really, really impacted me on an emotional level. I think story like for video games for me, number one like would be of course fun to play, but more importantly, almost is the story.
Mhm.
And this one just really, really captivated me as a kid playing it. It has all the best characters that I grew up with, like all the Disney characters. There's Mickey Mouse, which is like this hero that you're just chasing the whole time, and then a bunch
and
of
Billy, your childhood friend that you had to beat up for lying to you about Pokemon. He's in there.
it's just so iconic for our age group, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And then they do such a great seamless job of tying it in with another huge entity, Final Fantasy. It has so many of those characters through so many of their games. And as a kid, you know, a young video gamer, this is like PlayStation 2. I don't know, was it middle school for us, I think?
Yeah,
I
that was
didn't
middle school.
I didn't really know personally much about Final Fantasy. I'd heard about the games. I'd never played any of them at that point. But they had all these like really like interesting, fantastical characters. I was like, who? Like, this seems like this is somebody that like already exists. Like, this is like too like strong of a character. And in the game, there's like this journal that you can like dig in deep to every little detail of the game, which I think was the first at the time. Like, there wasn't that much text and detail into everything you were playing, but you could read about where all these characters came from in the games and what their backstory. And I was like, oh, I've heard of that game. People are always talking about it and stuff. Like, it really like showed me a lot of like the classic RPG elements that I wasn't really necessarily aware of. It's funny to say and to think about, but this was like my first RPG game, and as a mature gamer, I love RPG games. Like, that's my number one go-to kind of game that I would look for in purchasing.
Especially now, because we want to escape all kinds of this reality.
Yeah. I just love the idea, or that and Pokemon. Actually, Pokemon's the first RPG game I
Pokemon's probably
true.
But I didn't really recognize that as an RPG. But Kingdom Hearts I knew had like several years later I was like, okay, that's an RPG. It has like leveling up. There has like minor item customization and stuff, and it was like just deep enough that you weren't spending a lot of time in the menus and trying to figure out the system, but it was still there if you wanted to, like on your third playthrough when you're a little bit, you know, what's going on, you can really like dig in deep to the menus and like really take advantage of like the system and stuff. But as a kid, it was super engaging and the music was amazing and the whole story just like makes me cry every time.
So I have a few things to say about that, and then I do actually have a question for you as well. I love hearing someone that's never like at that point had never played any Final Fantasies or anything, loving that game for what it was. Because I came like, I mean, I was a PlayStation Final Fantasy person, so my first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy 7, and I played 7, 8, 9, and 10 before Kingdom Hearts came out. So I knew all these characters, and that's what made me love it so much. So I kind of love that they did such a great stepping stone in adding that Disney element to bring people into that world. Yeah. And then expanding upon that world and making it strong enough that people can still understand and love it, even not knowing that area of Square. I guess that was Squaresoft.
Square Enix? Or it was Squaresoft and then Square Enix?
I think it was Squaresoft at first. Well, it was Squaresoft at first, but I think when they made that game, they were still Squaresoft. And the second one, they finally turned to Square Enix. Okay. I don't know. I just kind of I love that a whole lot.
Yeah, because like when I played it, I hadn't played any Final Fantasies either, and so that was my first. Like, I think I probably had known, like I knew about 7, I knew who Cloud was, but I never like.
Yeah, I just kind of knew like the idea, especially with the other characters. Like, it really like didn't introduce Cloud until a little later. Right, it's probably the most recognizable.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just love that a whole lot. And then also, I'm interested in why you picked 1 compared to 2, since you did talk about mechanics so much. And me and Oscar actually talked about how 1 is a little clunky. And 2 was kind of the perfection of that.
It was a close call for me, but I've always said actually before today that number 2 was the better game. Like, I had more fun playing it. But just thinking about each game individually and my experience with it of all time, since that's what we're going for, the first one just really hit me hard. You know,
you might be fucking my list up, man.
I remember.
I mean, you guys are making me think a lot.
I remember liking the second one more, but as soon as I put it down, like I was like, that was so great. Number 2 was so great, but I remember feeling lackluster about the story. I feel like they let me down by the time it was over. And
it was pretty convoluted.
At the end of the first one, they left it hanging, and it was like a cliffhanger or whatever. Like, I want to play the next one, but it felt really complete, and I felt so satisfied. Maybe because it took me a long time to beat it too. I don't think I beat it till my second playthrough, like years later.
That's fine.
I don't think I initially ever beat it until, because I think the first time I ever played it, I had rented it. This was back when Blockbuster was still real and existed. I'm pretty sure I rented it from Blockbuster like on 2 separate occasions.
Wow.
And then I finally got it. And I think that's when I finally beat it. So it took me quite a while to beat it, which is hilarious.
Yeah. There was always like a line in my mind, like, oh, that's a rentable game. That's a purchasable game. I was like, this one I gotta buy.
I think I was Oscar back in the day, and now Oscar is me, and we've switched places because I can't finish a game for the life of me now. But back in the day, I would beat a game. Kingdom Hearts. The first time I played that game, I sat there and I beat that probably in a weekend.
Damn.
To be completely honest with you, I probably played the hell out of that.
That's a lot. That's a lot of emotions to go through, dude. That's not healthy.
I don't think I was as skilled as a gamer then. That game was hard, dude.
It was a difficult game, but I beat Sephiroth back then.
Oh, no way.
I don't think I could beat Sephiroth now.
Today, yeah. I tried.
Like, fuck.
I used to game, boys. I don't game like talk, but I used to game.
No, my parents wouldn't let me. They'd be like, Alex, what do you, have you showered? Go outside.
Yeah, it was me and the PlayStation 2 back in the day, man. I was a loser, so it only made sense.
Yeah, they always try to like make us like stop us like an hour. Like we only got like an hour a day, and it was horrible.
Right.
Oh no.
But I remember that was the one game where I had family members, like cousins over, like watching me play the Hercules section when I turned the game on, and like, holy shit, it's Donald and Goofy. What?
Yeah, I mean, there's something for everyone. Like you said, like, I mean, your parents know who all these Disney characters are, and then people like me know who the fuck Titus is in the beginning section.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of cool that they made that mix that was good enough that like everyone could kind of have something that they can enjoy for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For different reasons completely.
Kind of like that the Avengers effect, getting like so many, the cool characters from like a collection of the characters from all a good universe. That's what I always thought was cool about Kingdom Hearts.
I think it was one of the first games that they tied in all the Final Fantasy characters into like the same like universe. They were kind of they're all like standalone games until like there's like a PSP like fighting game that came out.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. I know what the game is called, but I can't pronounce it. I'm not going to try.
I just got one last thing to share about Kingdom Hearts and why it's so great. I think earlier, when I was starting off, I said this game is like Super or something, and Oscar thought I was going to say Super Mario. No. But it's funny coincidence because this game got inspired by the Mario game series. I remember reading an article about the two offices, Squaresoft and Nintendo, or maybe specifically Mario. I'm not really sure. Shelled the same like building in Japan, and they were some people at SquareSoft were like trying to figure out the next like great like franchise, specifically something that can be like redone into sequels or whatever. And they're like, all the like, what can we do? Like we need like memorable characters, like to make a good franchise. Like Mario is super popular right now. Like that's been going on for years. He's such a recognizable character by Nintendo. It's like we need something for PlayStation that's gonna like be like the driving force, like Mario was for Nintendo. And they're thinking about Mario because they're sharing the same building. And so they're talking about this game. And I think this guy was pitching it to somebody else in the elevator.
I really remember
and
this.
somebody from Nintendo was like listening. They're like, or they just got inspired from Nintendo. Like, okay, what if we make like these Final Fantasy characters? But somehow along they were like, we need some like recognizable character. We can't use Mario. And then somebody else was like, well, what about Disney?
Right. That's so
it's
cool.
Like that's cool. A great tie-in. And then I think the Disney guy was in the elevator with them or something like that.
Something like that.
And he was like, I would love to hop on this idea you have, and I will back the Disney characters and be like your creative advisor or whatever, or like the game director. I think it was the game director, some like really high like level, and they brought Disney with them somehow. But it was just like.
And then Disney made $1 billion more.
Yeah. all more or less inspired by Mario, which is just kind of funny.
I didn't know the Mario part. That's actually super interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I need to reread the article actually, but I think there was somehow a rough summarization.
Yeah, I mean, just wanting a mascot is super big.
Yeah.
Especially consoles.
I mean,
and that was when Crash Bandicoot wasn't doing so hot.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's awesome. I think we might circle back to that at some point again too. Brian, you're up.
I love some Kingdom Hearts, bro. Another one that I didn't think about a whole lot. So for me, we're gonna bring up another one, and I love this one specifically because this is a game that kind of set the stones for another great franchise that's really important to me. From a company that I obviously love to death and is not doing great right now, but used to make some bomb-ass video games.
I think I know where this is going.
This is coming from a very established franchise already, but then they gave some great rights to a great little company known as BioWare. I am talking about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
Nice. That's the
good.
This game came out originally
the first one on Xbox?
Xbox, original Xbox. So I'm sorry, PlayStation people. you guys are missing out for in a gym
I
for
haven't
the
played it still.
longest time.
I missed out.
It is such a good game in the fact that it was one of the first games that lets you make choices, and it changed the way that your story kind of unfolded. And that kind of became BioWare as a company, their MO
Mhm.
when they were making video
Mhm.
games. They were the people that made the choice-based games. I've played almost every single BioWare game except for Anthem, because Anthem fucking sucks, it looks like. But I played all the way since Baldur's Gate. And just to find Knights of the Republic when it first came out, I was never a huge Star Wars fan, but of course, just being a kid that grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, of course, I saw the prequels. When this game came out, I just thought it was just another Star Wars game. It was something new and different completely.
Mhm.
It's an RPG, of course. It has turn-based kind of D&D rules when it comes to the actual combat, which has aged a little rough nowadays. That being said, the story is one of the best stories I've ever, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's such, the twist is so good that you just have to see it for yourself. But it has one of the best stories that I've ever seen, better than anything that George Lucas could have ever wrote for a Star Wars franchise,
Oh boy, we're
movie
gonna
or
get
film or
emails
anything.
now.
Listen, y'all can die mad about it. I don't even care. It's such an interesting story to the fact that it became canon in actual Star Wars lore. I feel like that should be
That's
That is
true.
that should
impressive.
preach its praises in its first place.
Mhm.
Yeah, just something about that story and something about making choices and having it actually change the video game had never been seen before, and to see that actually happen has changed video games forever.
That's a super popular
That's the reason
trend.
Witcher 3, Witcher 2, those games exist and were able to be games of the year. The reason why CD Projekt Red is allowed to just not make a video game for 18 years
Right.
is because Knights of the Old Republic exists.
Yeah.
Absolutely, though.
Yeah.
Like it's 100% why those games are allowed to exist, because Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
the Dragon
great
Age
pick.
series and the Mass Effect series, but I always forget about Knights of the Old Republic tying
It's
down.
what started it all,
BioWare.
It's
dude.
funny. I thought about this after we made the one per franchise rule. I almost thought maybe we'll do this in like 6 months or a year or whatever. It'd be damn hard if you had to pick one per developer.
One per
That
developer.
means,
we
Ryan, if
really
you get
like
that, you don't get a Dragon Age, you don't get a Mass Effect. That is your BioWare
Yeah.
pick.
I mean, but that's 100% why I picked this
Right.
one, is because I knew that it was kind of the one that started it
OP.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it.
Yeah.
So I actually tried playing it on Mac. I wanted to play it as a kid when it came out, but I never had an Xbox, and I did so much reading and watched so many videos about it. My whole childhood, just like wishing I could play it, you know. So when I finally I think I was in college or just about to go into college, and they released a version, like a port onto Mac, I was like, yes, getting this. Finally get into it, and it's like it was so dated. At the time, I was just like, this looks like booty. Like, this is terrible looking. The controls are ridiculous. I didn't really understand. Like, I was a fan of RPGs at the time, so I was excited. And turn-based was like, wasn't the most exciting thing to me sounding like, but I was like game for it, and I was here for the story. But I didn't really understand the whole D&D aspect of it. So they start talking about things like, oh, it's based on your role and all this. I'm like, what are they talking about? Right. And the RPG elements are really like, they're just really clunky. Like everything just felt really clunky, and especially on the computer for one, but a laptop without even a mouse, it was just really like hard to play physically. So I never finished it, but I did really enjoy my time with it. I think it just got busy.
I think that game came out in 2003,
Wow.
2002. So like it's an old game.
Yeah.
So I completely understand why people would not like the mechanics of it. But it's one of those games that is like, mechanics aside,
it's a great story.
I still enjoy
It's another
playing
game
it
that
so much.
There's rumored to be a reboot, a remake, and that's why I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm waiting for it, and I'll play it then.
And that's another game they're talking about it. It's supposed to come out this year, but now it's going to come out
Now
next
it's not
year. We
gonna
talked
come-
about
yeah,
that.
who
Wait,
knows?
I didn't hear that. They're making a
So
remake.
they are remaking it,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to come out originally this year.
my.
I guess COVID stopped that, so
Although
now they
even
are setting it
without
for
COVID,
2021.
we haven't heard jack about this game.
Jack shit
Where's it
about
coming
it.
from? BioWare or?
But
I would imagine it's not BioWare.
I don't think it's BioWare. I forgot what the company was, 'cause I'm pretty sure I talked to Oscar about it fairly recently. We looked it up, and that's
Yeah, I
why I
remember.
know that it's not coming out this year
Yeah.
anymore. But they are in plans to work on that, as well as remaking Mass Effect, which I think they're remaking Mass Effect. They're just probably
Whoa.
just updating graphics. They're not going to do no Final Fantasy VII shit with it. But I'm pretty sure they're remaking Knights of the Republic from the ground up.
I would love to
Ooh.
do that.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I wish BioWare
If
was
that's the
doing it.
case-
They need the the credit right now. They need the money.
They absolutely
They need a win. They need an easy
I think
win.
nostalgia is the greatest place they could go for that one. Just fucking make us happy.
Yeah.
Give us that old shit. Make us happy, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. And the cool thing, and I just want to add on to Knights of the Old Republic, is it's such a good like story that they basically canonized it, right? I mean, like everything was so good that came out of it. Like I remember in Rogue One, the movie, the little Republic cruisers that are in KOTOR, like they have like the hammerhead kind of looking cruisers, you know, well, a sideways hammerhead. Those were in Rogue One, and they use it to slice, you know, the two Star Destroyers in each other. I mean, that
like
that
one of the
moment.
best scenes of that movie.
Right.
Yeah, and like when
two random dudes on the developer team, fucking BioWare, are in a real movie,
Right.
a real Star Wars
exactly,
movie.
and that was
Wow.
such a cool moment. It's like, damn, like I know that's the KOTOR, you know, that's the KOTOR cruiser. It's like, holy crap, they made it all the way into a real movie. So, you know, that just shows you how good KOTOR
That's really
was.
cool.
That's awesome. Good pick. All right, is that me next? My
Mhm.
number 2.
You next.
Let's go.
All right,
What you
this
got?
one will be a little briefer because we've already covered this franchise. My number 2 is Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh,
Guns of the Patriots.
1,
That's
3,
my
and
number
4.
2.
Moral of the story is we need to play every single Metal
We
Gear
do,
Solid. Apparently, it's just a great fucking franchise.
It really is. That game, it's also I'm a little biased because I did in self isolation go back and play this game again. I hadn't played this game since I think 2014, 2013 or whatever. I came back and played that game again. It's still so good. It is still looks amazing, runs amazing. It's still one of the best games I've ever played. And it's weird because a lot of people that when it first came out were like, this game, the story is too much for people if it's their first Metal Gear. And for me, it wasn't. Like they're like after I played it the first time, I was like, I want more of this. I want more of this.
Now, so what you're saying is that this was your first Metal
This was
Gear?
my first Metal Gear. Was 4.
Yep.
It was my first Metal Gear game. And then afterwards, I like took a deep dive into the story of Metal Gear. And then having gone back, it's like, oh my God, there's so much more to this than I originally thought. And I thought I had like high praise when it first came out. So it's just gone even higher afterwards. I beat that game 17 times total. I've beaten that game 17 times.
Whoa, 7.
Holy shit.
Because I had to platinum this game, and to platinum it, you have to beat it like a minimum of 7 times or 9 times. But trophies weren't a thing when it first came out, so I had done.
But you said in order to platinum it, you had to do it 7 times just to platinum this.
Yes, because you have to get there's 40 emblems you get at the end of the game. There's 40 emblems in the whole game, and you get random amounts of emblems depending on what you do in the game as you play. What is happening right now?
That's me.
So someone is coming to his
There's a clock
house
in my
and has
background.
played every single thing on there.
I was trying to block it.
Oh,
We're keeping it in.
That was funny. Yeah. So like, in order to get everything, you have to get every emblem. But there are like, you can get most of the emblems in 3 playthroughs, but then there are like 5 more after that you can only get in 1 playthrough at a time. And it's I did it. I had to do it pretty much almost twice because the trophies weren't a thing when the game first came out. I was just doing it because I loved that game originally, and then I did it again to get the that game is fantastic. It's so good. And Brian, you'll love it because you love 1. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but you need to play it. You need to play that.
I need to play through 2, 3, 4. I have 5.
It's just,
I also have 2 and 3 apparently.
and this one
now.
beat 5 because that's the only other. I also played 5 after it came out because I fell in love with the franchise afterwards.
5 is a different beast than the original.
5 has the
1
best
through 4.
gameplay, but there's no story in 5. It's not no story. It's just
It's not really the same. It should have been just like a different title. It shouldn't have been 5.
Like it fits and it's cool, but 4 is the best conclusion to that franchise, which makes sense because it's not really a spoiler. 5 is a prequel. 5 takes place in the 80s, and so 4 is the last chronological Metal Gear.
I will say if you play like 3 comes before all of them. That's like the very first one, and then so it's 3, then 5, then 1, 2, 4.
I mean,
yeah.
Don't forget just the normal Metal Gear game.
Oh yeah, I don't know much about those, but those are
as well as the PSP one, I think, or whatever the other whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Which
about
I hear
that
is
one,
fantastic as well.
I
But
think all those come after 5 and before 1 though.
I think no. I
Yeah,
think one
I think
PSP game takes place between 4 and 5. Or
Oh,
sorry,
shit.
between 3 and 5.
3 and 4.
I forgot about
Well,
PSP.
What was the most
Yeah.
the most recent one was like Revengeance or something?
That one doesn't count. They that one's not canon. They took that one and threw it away.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into what happens when a company wants to completely change a game because some guys in some suits said that you have to.
Okay,
Well, it's
gotcha.
not
How
even
that
that.
works.
It was
Gotcha.
actually really
Creativity.
terrible what happened. Like apparently because it was originally Metal Gear Rising and you were playing as Raiden because
And
everyone
it was anime as fuck.
Right.
It was fucking
But
dope.
originally, I think what happened was Kojima left. He wasn't really the head on that game. He left his studio to take care of it. And then they had nothing when he came back to them. So they had absolutely jack shit. They couldn't work it out because they were like, we have this awesome slicing mechanic. I don't know why we're talking about this. We're going to brief rant. They have this awesome slicing mechanic that slices through anything and everything in the game, which caused problems because you could slice through anything and everything in the game. So they like scrapped it and then they made a different developer completely just make the brand new game that's not canon, so it doesn't matter.
Dang.
Yeah, it happens.
But
Sad
yeah,
face.
so that's my number 2, Metal Gear Solid 4. It's fantastic. That story is convoluted as fuck and insane, but it's got some of the best moments for fans of that series, and it's just so good. It still holds up to this day because I played it.
Because I played it, and I can attest.
Yeah,
That is-
I remember liking that one again. I think I played your copy back in the day in college, but I didn't
Probably.
finish it one day.
Oh, sorry, listeners. It looks like we've run out of lives. Wah, wah. So that means that you're going to have to wait till next week to find out what is our number 1 game of all time. Okay, bye. All right, so here we go. Now it's time for the final segment of the week. Segment we like to call Free for All.
Free for all. Woo, woo.
All. FOUR for all because we're cool. Title pending. In this segment, anything goes. We can say whatever we want. Well, not whatever we want. That'd be dangerous. But we can do anything from suggesting a book to read or a TV show to saying how our day went to a rant to whatever we want. It's free for all. I'll start because I got shit to fucking say right now.
Oh, aggressive.
Whoa.
I'm going
Whoa.
on a rant. I'm switching things up. I got a rant.
Oscar's
It's about
mad.
video games, and they're too damn long. I'm sick of it. I thought of a way to fix it. Now I went. So, all right. So my biggest thing, and I know this pertains mostly only to me because I'm a completionist. I like to do everything the game has to offer. I can't do that, and if a game is hundreds of hours long and expects me to play it multiple times at hundreds of hours long, I hate that shit.
Mm.
So, like for example, The Witcher 3, amazing game. Still haven't finished it. I'll finish it one day, and I will not have experienced a fraction of. I'm still talking.
What?
And I will not have been able to have finished it. And then when I finally do, I still will not have done everything that game has to offer, and I'm not going to play it again. So fuck that. So what they should do is flip it. Flip the genres of video games. So instead, we get linear ass games that are 200 hours long. And when you finish it, you never have to touch it ever again. And then RPGs are 6 hours long, and you can play them 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways. And that's more likely that I will play a RPG in that way because games are too long. I'm done. I'm tired.
Wow, that's serious. I don't know, man. I think games are definitely long, but maybe they should lower the price if they're gonna lower the time expected to play. But for me, like RPGs are the most bang for the buck because they're inherently long. Like I'm spending out like $60 on a video game. Like I want to take my time with it. But I don't generally play games more than twice at most, unless it's like a really incredible game. But I don't know.
True.
Well, like for example, like if The Last of Us was 100 hours long, would you prefer? Would you play that?
That is a good point. Like
a story like that. If its length was the equivalent to a Witcher length,
I guess.
But it was just like once you're done with it,
yeah,
you don't have to play it a 10th time to experience the alternate endings and yada yada.
I think that for Witcher, and it's like if you can play The Witcher for 100 hours, like props to you because that game has a great story and amazing side quests. But the main story should not be 100 hours. A main story
Yeah.
A main
yeah.
storyline, like to
I know,
complete
and that's
the
why
story,
I said this
should be
mostly
like
only
30 to
pertains to
40
me.
hours.
Because I'm a completionist.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I
this,
think that's what I think the difference is like between open world versus like story driven games. Like,
Yeah.
because whenever you get these massive games, it's mostly about just exploring the world and like kind of doing whatever, making your own kind of story, right? So that's like why, Skyrim and Witcher 3 was open world. Like, I think so you can contrast Witcher 3 with Witcher 2 because Witcher 2 wasn't open world. It was
was a
like
lot
there were
more
3
contained.
acts
It's like
and there were
yeah.
like there were 3 acts and you had a limited amount of, and it was kind of like you could explore, but it was more like Fallen Order where the area that you could explore was finite, and so you could figure out everything in every area and then move on the story. So it was very story driven, and I think the story probably took like 30-40 hours, something like that. But it's very different, like, because when you go to open world, then it's like it's naturally going to take you longer because you're just kind of wander around and do
That's
different
also
stuff.
kind of why, like, I think like Telltale games do it are I like the way they're formatted because it's like pretty much the example of a game that you can play hundreds of different ways, but the length isn't multitudes of hours long. It's like you
Right.
can beat that first season of The Walking Dead. Granted, in the end, it's kind of you play it in a certain way and it leads you in a certain direction. It's ultimately the same-ish direction, but it's kind of in that same category, whereas it's a game you can play multiple different ways, but it's not hundreds of hours long.
So I have
Yeah.
a strong opinion on this, incredibly strong, so much so that I think it could be its own main topic for us at any point in time. But I'll try to keep it contained for the sake of what we're talking about. But
This is my rant.
the suits in the video games are looking at people exactly like Alex when they're talking about trying to make games disgustingly long for no apparent reason. Because people like Alex think that bang for your buck is what makes
Alex.
and I'm not saying that that's wrong by any means,
No.
but also content for the sake of content isn't like pleasure, and time spent doesn't equal pleasure. Just because I spent 100
Totally.
hours with the game does not mean I enjoyed all 100 hours.
Mhm.
And that's where games
Right.
are starting to really flounder in trying to make things so long for no reason, trying
Right,
to add
right.
new modes that don't need to exist when a game is fine as it is, because they want you to keep playing the game for as long as possible so that you feel like you're getting your bang for your buck. When it comes down to it, an 8-hour game, a movie's about what, 2 hours, and it costs you about $15. So if you get 8 hours
Right.
out of a game, that's 4 movies. That's you've made the money back technically when you're looking at it from that kind of standpoint. But we've gotten used to, and Witcher 3 that's a hard comparison because that game is such a great game from start to finish.
Good.
But even the main story of that game is 60 hours. The reason I know that is because part of my free for all off topic thing is that I'm looking at my backlog right now and trying to figure out what game to play next. I have been looking at all my games that I'm trying to play and figuring out how long it takes to beat those fucking games. And Witcher 3 and Persona 5 both sit up there very, very high because they're both over 100-hour games, but they're great games. There's a lot of games that AAA games especially that love making, especially open world is huge right now for no reason. And those games suck. No one wants to explore the open world. Andromeda could easily be a 60, 70-hour game, Mass Effect Andromeda, but the open world sucks. It's not fun to explore. I don't enjoy exploring it. And that makes that game not worth the money, even though I could easily put 100 hours into it. So I'm sorry I didn't mean to take over your
What's
rant.
the difference between Persona and Persona 5 Royal?
What do
Like,
you-
that's the struggle I get is like, is there like, I'm just like, which version am I supposed to
So Persona
play?
5 Royal added an extra section to it and like an extra student and all this other stuff. If you do get Persona 5 Royal or whatever it is, make sure you look up what you need to do to get to that special part, because there are certain things that you have to get done in a certain amount of time. And if you don't do it, you will completely miss all the extra content. Yes,
What?
It's that kind of fucking video game. So you
Oh,
might
God.
not even see it if you play the
I
game
need
wrong.
a book.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But
Yeah, so games are too long. I'm mostly it's like I enjoy them, but there is burnout.
The
You
Last of
get
Us 2
burnout
was too
at some
long.
point.
It was 10 hours too long. There was no reason for that game to be
I
30
would
30
disagree
hours.
only in the sense because I played that twice, and if the game had told me it would be this length, I would have been gung ho fine with it. Because the second time I played through it, I did not
You
have
didn't have
any
an issue
burnout with it.
I
had no burnout because I knew how long I would be playing it for.
the
But it's
pacing.
the first time you assume it's going to be just as long as the first game, and it is not.
It wasn't even the fact that I assumed that it was going to be the same amount of time. I just thought the pacing was struggling. I'm not going to get too far into it because we're not going to spoilers. or
The
anything like
storytelling
that.
is very different than the first one.
For sure.
I haven't finished it, but I think I'm
Yeah.
very close.
And I mean, what they've done
Alex's motto.
is very creative, and I love what they've done creatively with that story. I think it was very interesting, and I don't dislike that. That wasn't my issue with it. I just thought the pacing was a struggle sometimes, and I just think it was they added too much extra things for the sake. I think that someone in a suit told someone that it had to be a certain amount of time. I think I could be wrong, but that's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for like
that's my
I think
free
it's
for
a
all.
matter of like when you do, like Oscar, you say you're completionist. I feel, and I'm the same way, but I feel like recently I did this with Odyssey where I just started not doing all the side quests. Because like Odyssey would have stuff too where
Can't do it.
or I'm sorry, maybe it was Origins, the one before that. But there would be a thing where they would give you like a new side quest every day, so you could go do like the daily quest. And it was
see
like,
that I don't feel I want to do what the game, the main game
and they
creators
have those
put in
too.
there.
They have those
I gotta
too.
do
But so I'd say
dailies?
like
In a single player game?
Yeah, that's not as
yeah,
important.
man.
That's a short.
I mean, it's so much like they give you. I mean, that's not a knock against it because they give you so much, that you can play, but it's a little overwhelming at some point.
Sometimes there's
I
just
agree
too
with that.
much because
Yeah, totally.
it's just very over. It's like there's a reason I haven't wanted to play Odyssey for a long time.
Yeah,
That game's
yeah.
a couple years old now because it's like, man, if I start this, I have to dedicate just to this. I can't. It's like The Witcher. I played The Witcher. And I stopped playing because I kind of got a little burnout or something else came out. I don't even know. And now if I go back to The Witcher now, I have no idea where I am or what's going on. It's just
a
like,
learning curve with that one.
Oh God. Yeah.
It's so heavy. You got to like really invest.
Right.
Yeah. No,
but
absolutely.
I mean, they're still great games. I still love them.
I really like, and I mean, Alex, you can talk to this too. Like, I really like Fallen Order because it was very it was very like contained within the story. Like, yes, you could go back.
Alex, what's the
like
motto?
there were like what 3 or 4 planets.
I'm playing the Fallen Order right now, but I haven't beaten it yet.
Like it had like an exploration element where you had freedom of where you could go, but like it still was it was concise, and it was like, okay, I explored everything, I found everything. So like I found all the bonus items, right? And like I found I checked all the things off. And then so now, I can go back and do the New Game Plus and just go through the story and not backtrack and explore around. And that, I just think and I think that game was like maybe a 30-hour campaign. So I don't know, that is like they made it intentionally at a smaller scale for that reason. I think that's kind of what Oscar's kind of doing what you're talking to is like making it an appropriate scale for what it needed to be. Yeah.
To me, here's my thing for this week. I'm playing Fallen Order still, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. But I really love the exploration concept. Like it's not quite exactly open world like we're talking about.
It's open world just enough.
But it's like I think more so it's like a Metroidvania. It's like a subgenre, like Metroid and the Castlevania series, where you kind of are left to your own devices in this big environment. But there's a lot of sections that are closed off and you can't quite figure out why or how to get around this thing. So you're just kind of like, whatever, I'll just keep going the ways that I can. And eventually you're forced back to like revisit some of these places when you unlock new abilities and you can open the chests that you haven't been able to. You can get past doors and shortcuts that you didn't have access to before, and it leads you to different paths. And I really appreciate that. Sometimes it can be a little repetitive, but I really think that it's a nice way to like encourage you to go back and explore a little bit more in a spot that you're already familiar with. I think it's a really a fun way to explore an environment. It feels more like a home rather than everything just kind of feeling lost and really like relying on the map and never seeing anything twice. So I think that's a nice like blend between linear and completely open world. It's like the Metroidvania, which I really appreciate in Star Wars Fallen Order.
Yeah, it's a great game. Not too long, as I would say.
Yeah. And the combat like so smooth too, like man, like the lightsaber.
It's really fun.
It sounds really good. I don't know, the fights in that were just really really fun.
Great.
I do wish there were more force powers, but I get that he's like I'm still like halfway maybe, and he's like definitely a Padawan. It's not like a Jedi Master by any means at the point where I'm at least.
You want some force powers? You got to go back and play Jedi Academy. That's a good fucking game right there.
Yeah, I played it on my PC a long time ago, and I just got it on Switch a few months ago.
Oh man!
But it takes like maybe the second one, I can't remember. It takes so long till you get a lightsaber. It's just like ugh. I'm just running around with a pistol right now, and I'm just like
a pistol. Is that Jedi? Yeah. No, Jedi Academy. It was a different game. You're talking about
Outcast,
Jedi Knight 2.
Jedi Outcast
with Kyle Katarn. Yeah, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight 2. With Kyle Katarn. Yeah, that one I agree that he gets a lightsaber too fucking late in the game. But Jedi Academy, you get that shit like day one. And you get force powers, and nothing feels better than a strong enemy. He's like, oh, I have a double-bladed lightsaber. I'm gonna fuck you up. And you just go, boink, and just shoot him off the map, and he just dies. And it's like,
Okay, Jedi Academy. I'll look into that.
Oh, that
Definitely
is the
look into it. It's
funnest
a great
thing to
game.
do, dude. Just force push people off of like cliffs and stuff.
I don't even know
doing
if
that.
I swung my lightsaber. I was just pushing people everywhere.
Oh man, it's so much fun.
That's all. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Is that it? Sweet. Thanks, guys. I feel much better about my rant now. I got that off my chest. I've been wanting to say that for years. So yeah, thank you for listening this week. You can email us at thefortressof@gmail.com. Fortress spelled FOUR. If you want to
Four.
email us any questions or any comments or feedback, or if you want to suggest something maybe we missed in our main topic or in the news this week, if you want something you really wanted us to talk about, maybe we'll read it and talk about it.
Love
Any
letters.
ideas? Yeah. Don't.
Money,
No.
if you would like to send us money, you accept credit. All major banks, Discover as well.
We only accept Bitcoin though. Yeah, so and then maybe we'll read some questions if we have any questions in a couple of episodes or
bang.
something. You can also follow the Fortress of on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Alex is an Alien on the Instagrams. I got some pictures of my cute puppy, Indy Blue. She's great.
Nice. That's all.
Canon.
She's kidding. You can always follow me at its_by_the_way. That's ITZ_by_the_way on Instagram. I also have Facebook. It's ITZ_by_the_way, no underscore. I also stream on Twitch every once in a while. I'll put some shit up on there as well. That's twitch.tv/bythewayx.
All right, guys. So I actually figured out what my Instagram username is now.
Oh, boy.
It's on Instagram.
How mad would you be if I cut you off in the edit and you never get it out?
I think that'd
No,
be
do it.
amazing.
Do it. Keep the joke alive. Keep it alive. Yeah.
We'll just hard cut to the music.
Handle out ever.
My user handle is.
I mean, like my Instagram is very underwhelming too. I mean, I have like 10. I think I have like 10 pictures total that I've ever posted. So if you want a very underwhelming,
I gotta start actually doing it.
yeah. If you want a really bad account.
Yeah. So thank you again for listening this week on another episode of the Fortress of.